I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm on today, the Wiradjuri people of the Kulin Nation here in Naarm. We are the traditional and only custodians of country across Australia. I acknowledge their continuing connection to the land, waters and skies and communities. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples continue to maintain their wisdom and rich culture, the oldest continuous culture on the planet, despite having experienced genocide, dispossession and colonisation. I pay my respects to our elders past and present. Sovereignty has never been ceded. This land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Larisha Jerome and I'm a proud Jarowair, Wakka and Wulli woman with strong family ties to South East Queensland and was very lucky to grow up on Wiradjuri Country in New South Wales and have connection to their country. I have had the pleasure to be the project lead here at First Nations Foundation for the Indigenous Women's Financial Wellness Project, and ultimately my aim is to redress the economic injustice that not only Indigenous people face here in Australia, but as an Indigenous woman, and through my lived experiences working in financial capability, debt collection, financial hardship and financial abuse prevention. The definition of financial wellness is your overall financial holistic health. Financial wellness. Now, what does this have to do with financial self-care? Well, the essence of who we are as Black women is that we are nurturers, we are the backbone of our communities, and that's no doubt. One of my favourite quotes written by Taylor Gray is "Spirituality is Indigenous. We are the oldest continuing living culture in the whole entire world." Financial wellness is your overall holistic financial health. Mentally, you want to achieve financial wellness. Spiritually, you want financial contentment. And physically, you want financial freedom. To be able to live a comfortable life, to take care of yourselves and your families, and change the patterns within our families and take control of your financial future. Financial wholeness is a form of self-care, and let's not forget it. The time that you invest in your financial education and financial self-care will always carry more weight than any dollar value. This is the time to think about all your self-limiting beliefs, acknowledge them, recognize and release any negative beliefs about money. It's an Indigenous-led project with a platform for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women to share our lived experiences is how we empower others. Let's make financial self-care a self-development commitment. I hope that through the work that you do, and even as individuals and as a collective and those that work with First Nations women, I just wanted to reiterate the last points that I made. Mentally, you want that mindset that you're abundant, capable, and educated to achieve financial wellness. Spiritually, you want to be at ease, comfortable, and not worrying about the money shame, the sick feeling in your stomach on whether or not your bills are paid. Your family is okay and you want to have overall financial contentment. Physically, you want financial freedom. The freedom to be able to provide, share, and have enough to support yourself and those closest to you. Before we can move forward, we all need to understand our history, redress the economic injustice, and understand that we are now in the generation of people who are breaking intergenerational patterns of generations of systemic oppression. To support our women, we must create a trauma-informed practice to achieve overall financial security and economic empowerment. It takes time, it takes commitment, and consistency from all levels, and of course, it takes accountability from corporate and change in policies to best support Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Research that First Nations Foundation and the Centre of Social Impact did back in 2019, more than 50% of Indigenous people recognised that the barriers to accessing financial products and services were that 1, they did not know enough about financial products and services, and 2, they had money shame and were too proud to access these services. Luckily, these can be fixed, which is why First Nations Foundation exists, to educate, empower, and provide financial literacy education to fill that gap to create financial prosperity and overall intergenerational wealth. Aboriginal women here are 37 times more likely to be hospitalised than non-Aboriginal women for non-fatal family violence related assaults. In the Northern Territory, the rate of hospitalisation is up to 86 times higher for Aboriginal women. In Central Australia, this figure is 95 times more likely for Aboriginal women, and this is only on statistics of reported incidences. As many of us know, domestic violence can also include social, spiritual, cultural, and economical abuse, and one-on-one fighting, abuse of Aboriginal community workers, and self-harm, injury, or suicide. Economic disadvantage, which includes unemployment, financial problems, poverty, and economic exclusion. Living in a geographic location with poor access to services can lead to frustration and then violence projected from deep trauma. Back in June 2020, First Nations Foundation created the Indigenous Women's Financial Wellness Strategy to address this need and provide an urgent response to the negative impacts of COVID-19. Funded by the federal government through the Office for Women, this project has allowed First Nations Foundation to offer free online training for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women nationwide. We have also been able to build up a private online Facebook network to provide access to trusted financial information and support and facilitate connection between women over positive experiences with money, with over 1,000 members strong.